This is James, aka Jimmy Pockets, and this is my Night Owl Edition live stream. Uh, for those of us who have different schedules or just can't sleep or are in a different part of the world for whatever reason, this is where we are right now. And I wanted to talk today uh, a little bit about FEMA. Some of you may have seen my videos this last couple of days, but also uh, let's talk about the cabinet choices that President Trump has made. They've been really good, and I'm quite impressed. I'm happy. I'm glad. I was afraid it might be like it was back in the day, in his first term, to where he didn't always get it right when he picked people. So at least he's doing much better this time. But I'm going to talk about FEMA first, because FEMA, I did a video, a story about how everybody's seen it now. Uh, the FEMA employee finally she got fired, and now she's coming out and speaking out about why uh, they had the policy that they had about not engaging with the homes that had Trump supporting signage or whatever in the yard or in the window of their house, because it made them feel unsafe or uncomfortable uh, serving the needs of these individuals. Uh, they talk about it's not always about the person with their political views, but it was about that type of person. Hey TJ, how you doing? But it's about the type of person they claim to come out and uh, got nasty with them, upset with them because they didn't want FEMA's help, or they like seen how the issues are going in North Carolina, so the people in Florida with after the Hurricane Milton hit, they were a little salty and they didn't trust FEMA helping them. Now, saying that, to have a physical policy saying to now, according to this young lady, it wasn't always about the Trump signs being in the yard. It was about if the people just made them feel uncomfortable. Uh, that sounds awful weak. It's like it's how do your job by how it makes you feel, uh, but without having a little empathy for the people in the position of where they just lost their home or worse. With the situation that went on in North Carolina with FEMA, you would think that you would try your best to ease their mind and their concerns about dealing with FEMA. But no, it's all about the employee, not the people that need help. It's about their feelings, uh, But at the end of the day, they had a home to go back to, uh, and the people that they were dealing with did not. So I just found that to be kind of selfish. And I think, in all honesty, this young lady's just throwing out excuses because she's been thrown under the bus. And I do realize that she is not the one who determined that policy to not help people who had Trump signage in the window or in the yard. So she actually named the person that her boss, her immediate supervisor, who actually uh, set down that policy uh, of things that they didn't have to do or things they should do. What did she call it? The recommended uh, ways of doing things. Yeah, TJ, they are. They are evil. Um, but and it's this person is named Chad Hersey, and I hadn't heard of him. Of course, you know a lot of these people you've never heard of before. They're just your, basic people, bureaucrats, staffers, whatever you want to call them. They're not elected officials, so they're actual employees that can be fired. You don't have to impeach them. They can just get the hell out of there. Um, Saying that, so this Chad Hersey, more than likely, somebody told him that it was okay to bypass Trump supporting homes. And honestly, I think it goes all the way up to Mayorkas, to be honest with you, and probably straight to the White House. But, you know, Jim Jordan and them need to bring this young lady in. And of course, she's willing to talk now. Now that she's been fired, she's willing to, you know, tell on everybody. It's not going to get her job back, but she was in the interview I seen. She was asking for money, asking for help because she's. And what's funny is she kind of slipped up, and the man that was interviewing her was talking about, yeah, you have a mortgage and you have cost of living just like everybody else, things you got to buy, food and all that. And she talking about, she didn't say home, she said homes as in plural. So I don't know what this young lady makes, but obviously she makes enough to where she has more than one home. And right now she claims she's in a secured location because of all the death threats and her racial slurs. Now, supposedly, she's been called a few names, but the email that they showed on this interview uh, didn't really have that type of language in it. You would think to prove the worst of the worst that they would have brought in, and used such an email or a text or whatever, however people are being able to contact this woman. Uh, and use that. So saying all that, I'm calling BS on this, to be honest with you. Um, this may be policy, but she had no problem doing it, following policy until she got fired. Now that she's fired, she wants to take everybody down with her, which is fine. This is how we get to the root of the little rat's nest that is our U.S. government right now, FEMA. Uh, Honestly, I think with some of the stuff that I'm finding out about FEMA, I think they may be, or at least they are setting up to support the enemy from within. And, that could be a very dangerous thing if that's the case. Because, I did I did the story on the 350 semi trailers of supplies and equipment. It's going to be stationed at a closed down uh, Air Force base in uh, Michigan. And well, see if I can't. It's called Oscoda, Michigan. I want to make sure I get it right. And if that's the case, why are they there? Why are they setting up 350 semi trailers full of equipment, supplies, and whatever else is supposed to be in them so far north from where the actual natural disasters are happening? Uh, it makes no sense, and it makes you want to, you got to throw your tinfoil hat on. You got to, you know, go down that rabbit hole, and because you can only wonder because they're not hiding the fact that they're going there because I've seen it on their actual website. They're actually going to be setting these semi trailers up there along with some other equipment. So then the actual township meeting, the officials even said that FEMA contacted them and said that they were going to be setting all that equipment up in there and doing it fairly shortly. So it should be happening any day now. So uh, get the why I think they're there. And my answer to this question, TJ. There's a couple of reasons why I think they're there. Uh, where they're located is, and they're supposedly there to do emergency support for 6 specific counties. Now, why have 6 specific counties? And these counties are almost all in a straight line in the state. It doesn't make any sense why they would have a specific 6 that they list of what they're there to support. And there's no known emergency or disaster. There's no weather coming in there that's going to have any effect on anything. It's not a earthquake area. It's not a tornado area. Plus, it's in late fall now, so there's a couple of things I think. Uh, we'll go with I think, and I'd like to see what kind of stuff they have inside those trailers. To be honest with you. But I think they are anticipating some kind of civil unrest. And why these specific counties, I don't know. I still am trying to wrap my head around that to try to make sense of that. But just across from them counties in the next state over in Wisconsin, they're having that same old issue of 4 o'clock in the morning ballot dumps after election day, and it flips and it's not the presidential race in this situation. It's the Senate races, and it's not only Wisconsin that's doing this or having this problem. Arizona is having the same exact thing happening at 4 a.m. dumps of ballots, and it flips the seat around from Republican to senator as far as who's ahead. Uh, you can say I'm shell shocked, got PTSD from the election back in 2020 and all the stuff that was going on then. Um, maybe they felt like they couldn't do nothing about the presidential race because it was an overwhelming number of people that voted for him. So you know, can't rig that one, but they can still muck it up in the Congress to where he doesn't. When President Trump gets in office, there he doesn't have the ability to control Congress uh, to help get his agenda passed. So that's the softer side of my tinfoil hat theory there. There's also it, and on the ballot dumps, you don't have to take my word for it. You can check the Senate races. You can check the website for the elections and polls. I forget the name of the website right now. I'm sorry, but anyways, they have the graph in the time of when you can see to where they're going, and then all of a sudden, 4 a.m. in the morning, you got Democrat down here. All of a sudden, it shoots straight up. And we all have seen this happen before. And then now, Democrats up here, Republicans down here, as they're counting the ballots. Sound familiar? So, like I said, it's Racine, Wisconsin, and oh, the this thinking of the corrupt county down in Arizona. It's that same county, and this is uh, you know Kari Lake is on the ballot there in Arizona for this one. So I was kind of hoping that she'd get in because I think she's a very good Trump supporting person that would be good in the Senate to help get the Trump agenda passed as they go forward and get all this stuff. Now, the other thing that recently happened is just north of the border there in Michigan, um, Canada has had its first outbreak, a human outbreak of the bird flu, which, like I said, it's call me gun shy when it comes to the election deal and uh, governments trying to control its population uh, through some kind of pandemic. So why are these 350 trailers filled full of equipment being parked there? You can only speculate because they don't say. So, in my opinion, and there's also a third thing here. Um, it's that enemy from within phrase that Trump uses, and I use it myself. About they've created their own internal army here that has no loyalty to the rest of us. I think they fear that if they try to use our own military against us to control us, that the military people are our family members, our kids, our uncles, our aunts, our dads, mothers. So I think they feel like they can't count on the U.S. military to go against its own people to do whatever it takes because the DoD updated that directive back in uh, August, I think it was, or no, September 27th, to where they are allowing lethal force against a U.S. citizen on U.S. soil if they try to rise up against the government. So, so all these little things, if you put them together, it's just a bad deal. You got to work. You can only wonder. So, as I always say, prepare for the worst, hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. So, What do you guys think? Uh, See, TJ's shouted out in the chat room. Uh, where's everybody from tonight? Who's all in here with me? This is my night owl thing. This is my I like the smaller groups this time of night. And for those of us who can't sleep or has a different time zone or has a different work schedule as most people. Well, TJ, it's the equipment that North Carolina never saw. This stuff's never. This is something they set up in different parts of. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure because they have because I looked it up. They have a place in Wisconsin, believe it or not, to where they stage a lot of these trailers and semis. There you go, Finland. Yeah, cool. That's what I like to see. I like to talk to people from other countries. But anyways, these trailers, like I said, I would like to see the inside of them and see what kind of equipment they have. I've mentioned two scenarios. One being maybe some type of civil unrest because we think they're doing some shenanigans on the down ballot elections going on in the state of Wisconsin. And then you have that possible try to control the population with a pandemic with the bird flu. Hey, Miss Lizard. Yeah, when I watched the township meeting to where the local officials uh, told people not to be concerned if they start seeing convoys of tractor trailers rolling in there and setting up out at the airport there, which is an old closed down Air Force base, which if it's back in the day it was called Wart Smith Air Force Base. The thing that concerns me and always is why mention six specific counties? What's the purpose in that? And why would you, if 350 trailers, a field full of equipment, are there just to service six counties? What about the rest of the counties? What are they expecting that the six counties is specific enough that they have to name them? Well, Ms. Lizard, I was getting into my third theory. It's kind of a theory I have here in Springfield, Ohio, with our group of Haitians here. Now, of course, it's not Haitians everywhere; it's different. I'm pretty sure up there in Michigan and Wisconsin, and both those areas right there, is like some of the largest Somalian population in the country. And so, that's my third theory is they have brought in their own army to where I was just saying they can't count on our own U.S. military to go against their own people because they are civilians before military. They are family members. Uh, they are neighbors, so they can't count on the U.S. military to do what they think is necessary to control the population. So Saying that, they have a secondary force. They've been shipping them in like crazy for the last 4 years. And that's what concerns me. And plus, with the simple fact that a lot of these people uh, do not want to get deported, and they're probably willing to do whatever it takes to keep them getting deported. And if that means that the government in power right now promised them, asylum or immunity to whatever they ask them to do to help squash this, they'll do it because they're coming from a country that death, causing harm to each other, and being cruel to each other is a way of life. I'm gonna read your message real quick, TJ. Yeah, TJ, and that's kind of what I'm talking about. They're basically telling us their game plan, uh, but they're doing it in, I don't know if you want to call it code, or it's kind of like when they tell something, you got to pretty much read between the lines. But they're basically telling you what they're going to do. Hey, Andrew, it's good to see you. But that's where I was saying that they would try to use our own U.S. military to, keep Trump from taking office, but they can't trust that our own military would go through with it because they are us, basically. But then, like I said, they have a group of people that don't want to go back to their homeland because then that means they really have nothing to lose. So they're loyal to the government that's in power right now and not to anybody else. And like I said, they're used to being cruel to each other. They're used to killing each other, which 99% of Americans are not. So, that's, I hope I'm wrong on that. It's kind of an out there theory, but it's still, there's enough information out there to connect the dots that tells us that there is a possibility that might happen. Saying that, uh, there's a few of us here in my hometown here in Springfield, Ohio. We have that same concern here uh, that there's a lot of these people that do not want to be sent back to their home country because of, I mean, it's in the news right now about some killing spree going on in Haiti right now. So these individuals they're not wanting to go back home. So, there's been rumors of the, firearms being purchased and stockaded at a couple homes here in the town, in our town, and that, these people, if given the call to arms uh, from our current government, are they willing to do it? I think so. I mean, they owe us nothing as far as individuals. Hey, Janice, how you doing? Well, Miss Lizard, at that point, it doesn't matter who you're loyal to. Um, it's kind of like how we have Antifa and BLM people. Uh, they're just gonna protest and riot against anybody who has any opposition towards them. So they're gonna know because there's gonna be opposition if something goes down and it ain't right. Because we are a armed society, and there are a lot of people in this country that would not uh, go away quietly, and especially if they try to do something as major as keeping him out of uh, taking the presidency in January. These are all theories, but there's enough information there. It just looks bad. So it's one of those wait and see, but be prepared. But wait and see. Uh, if it goes down, it's going to go down in a real hurry. So we'll see the closer it gets to January 6th. Um, and there's all kinds of things that you hear the Democrats talking about, stuff they can invoke to keep President Trump from taking office. But let's switch gears. That's like a dark path. That's a possibility, a real good possibility, but it's there. Sorry about that, guys. Um, but lost my train of thought there. But in any situation that might arise from that is just speculation right now. So we'll wait and see why they're doing that. Hopefully, we can get more information about what's going on in Michigan on that deal. And but the young lady who was in charge of the FEMA disaster relief people, and the boss that uh, made a policy. Well, according to her, he made a policy. I'm pretty sure it goes higher than that. They all need, Jim Jordan needs to call them in as witnesses and find out who told them this, who said it was okay to do this. And they're snowflakes anyway. This is why I don't know if anybody's seen their interview, but uh, whining about how aggressive Trump supporters are when they talk to them and how it makes them feel uncomfortable. That's kind of why that policy come into play, is to make her and her coworkers feel safe, and because they felt uncomfortable having to deal with Trump supporters. And she said it wasn't just Trump supporters, but that's just how it's listed in the best practices of what you need to do when you're going to these places and assessing the damage and seeing what you can do to help. Like I said, she just sounds to me like she don't have the I don't want to say guts, but I guess it takes a certain type of person to be a first responder, which is basically what they are. You know, a police officer uh, responding to a call, and let's say there's gunshots been fired, so guns are involved, and they can't say, well, that criminal's going to make me feel unsafe or uncomfortable, so I'm not going to have to deal with that because that's, you know, I don't want to feel uncomfortable. Same thing with a fireman. Yeah, they run into a burning building. they definitely are in an unsafe environment. So it sounds to me like if they're going to be that type of person, that they can't ease the minds of people who are obviously frustrated, because a lot of them already know about all the rumors, and they're more than, I say rumors, but they're more than just rumors. I've talked to people that had to deal with FEMA down in North Carolina. That that's a real deal. You know, when Trump said that FEMA was not wanting to help people who were uh, Republican or red leaning type individuals who would be voting for him, basically, FEMA didn't want to help them. Of course, all the mainstream media and everybody, Mayorkas and all of them, said that he was a liar, misinformation, causing, using divisive language, uh, putting people's lives at risk, which I don't see how that is. Uh, but now, with this whole deal with this young lady that got fired for this very thing that Trump said FEMA was doing in North Carolina, they had happened in Florida and got a whistleblower. So Trump was right. You'll see none of the media give him an apology for them being wrong. So, yeah, we'll have to hold our breaths for that. Don't hold it too long, though, because we don't want you to pass out, which is about what will happen if you're waiting on them to apologize. Hey, Janice. Yeah, that's, sorry, I'm just now getting back up to your one comment there. Uh, yeah, I think in that's what they're wanting to do. They're wanting to set up a scenario where they're going to try to replace us. TJ, um, FEMA themselves, I mean, it just, I'm sure some carry, this is an armed society, so they're allowed to carry just like anybody else. Um, the thing is if if that's the scenario, the darkest scenario possible that we're talking about here, uh, firearms is not a thing that's hard to get a hold of, especially if the government is running this operation to do this. Uh, they have hundreds of thousands of weapons, military grade weapons, that they can get a hold of at the drop of a dime. So that's getting the firearm is not a problem for them. Uh, so and FEMA would just be the organizers of this whole scenario that I'm talking about. It would be the illegal immigrants that would actually uh, conduct the, what's a good word for it, the invasion type scenario to go against anybody who has, like, I mean, and I'm willing to do it, uh, get up there in the front lines where, and this is not like two armies lining up in a field to take each other on. This would be basically uh, urban guerrilla warfare. This is neighborhoods. You don't know who's who because nobody's in a military uniform, so you got to pay attention. A lot of mistakes could happen, a lot of accidents could happen, but anyways, the situation is they would be loyal to the current government in charge and not to any of your neighbors. So you have that. But that's I'll try to continue to find more information on that as the days go by. I'm working on it right now uh, to seriously try to find out if any of the officials that knew about this or know about this, if they were given a reason for. Oh, and I was going to name the 6 counties. So for somebody who lives up there in Michigan already, you'll probably know these counties, and it makes no sense why they're doing just these 6 counties. But anyways, you got Eaton County, Ingham. Hope I'm saying that right. County, Iowa, I Iowa. I won't say Iowa or Iowa. Strange names on these counties. Anyways, so Iowa County. Hope I'm saying that right. Kent County, Livingston County, and Macomb County. So, and if anybody up there around that area gets a hold of any information, I have it in my bio of my channel is my email address. You can email me, and maybe I can do some follow up on it and get the information out there. I think as this stuff keeps going, the information is going to be, fluid. Like it's going to be coming in a pace to where instead of me trying to make a video and edit it and then get it out there, it takes a couple 2 to 4 hours for whatever reason. It takes that long to download the video and put it together. Uh, I may just start going and doing little 15-20 minute live segments with the information that I have at the time to keep this information coming as best I can, whether it be the situation in Michigan right now or these elections going on, the Senate elections in Michigan, or not Michigan, I'm sorry, Wisconsin and Arizona, and the situation in Florida, and still stuff in North Carolina that you hear about. Yeah, this is the actual counties, Miss Lizard, that was listed as the counties that the FEMA claimed that they were uh, going to be stationing these semi trailers filled full of equipment and supplies uh, for to help in some possible emergency for these 6 counties. Now, I don't know much about Michigan as far as the counties and stuff, but it seemed to me when I looked at it on a map, they were like almost in a straight line from each other. I don't know if maybe I looked at it wrong and they're in a circle, but the township, the Oscoda, Michigan Township meeting uh, mentioned the 6 counties, but didn't mention them all by name. Uh, but I did go and find information on the FEMA deal on the internet itself about the counties that they were going to be servicing. So Oscoda is polluted with what? If I may ask. Like I said, I don't know much about that. I'm just trying to pass along information that I've been told about, and then I look it up and I find. Uh, the thing is I found a news article up there and some news outlet out of Detroit that claimed that this was not happening, and yet you go and go on the FEMA website thing, and also you can watch the township meeting from the 28th of October. FEMA themselves has mentioned this, and so did the officials from that township meeting. So this news outlet that claimed that that wasn't really happening, uh, why would they be telling misinformation like that when I easily found this stuff to be true? I don't understand why they couldn't find the same information I found. Yeah, see, it, it's more on the east side of the state, and the way I was understanding it is the way the counties are set up. It goes east to west, and then the area over in Wisconsin that's having the election dump situation is like straight across from these counties over in Wisconsin, and that these counties are close to the waterways that they, if people wanted to come in or bring stuff in by water, uh, ships, uh, they could possibly do it in this area. Like I said, I have to learn more about it. Um, I try to give you as much information as I know. I don't try to go too far ahead. I hate to just put too much of my own personal opinion in there, but I can just tell you what I see is what I think, and what there's, you have to just speculate their real reasons because you don't know because they ain't telling you. So you have to look at all scenarios. Okay, Katie, I'm gonna seem a little ignorant here. I don't know what DFAS means. Uh, I'm sure if you spelled it out as far as the whole thing in word form, I probably would know what you're talking about right away, but it's not coming to mind right now. Tsunami drills, really? That's kind of odd. Because in the waterways there, like kind of shallow. That's not like super super deep. I still don't know what it means. PFSA. Um, but if the waterways is kind of shallow, it, it almost is impossible for a tsunami to happen. I would think. 'Cause I thought that happened like if you had a an earthquake or something out in the deep in the ocean, that the water would come and then wave back in as a big wall of, of water. They are deep. Okay. Yeah, because it seemed like when I was up there. What's up, Rusty? In that area, I was close to that area, but not in that area. It seemed like the boat I was on that was being chartered for fishing. Uh, the captain of the charter boat was telling me that the average depth, at least where we was, and we went so far out that we couldn't see land anymore, was 12 feet, and which ain't deep at all. But I'm sure you're probably right. If they're bringing in cargo ships and stuff in that area, they'd have to be deep. Janice. So let's say that it is along this new major fault line. Has there been uh, botanic, I think that's how you say it, shifts before, kind of like what they have out in California that causes these earthquakes, which causes tsunamis? So there's possible cracks in I call them plates, which is this fault line under Lake Michigan. But if there's, how do they determine that that might happen? If they say that it is, they're staged there for a honest reason, real reason, how would they know this? And why wouldn't they be warning anybody? And I hate when they say, well, they want to cause, mass panic, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. As far as I know, most American people, given information, they'll accept it whether or not they, some may not even believe it, but those who do, polyfluorinated substance. Oh, okay, Katie. Seems like Michigan has a huge problem with their water supply, don't they? Tectonic plates. There you go. See, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, Janice. I'm just, uh, my grasp of the English language. I know how I want to say stuff, but with my dyslexia, it doesn't come out right. So, I apologize for that. I'm not the best messenger, I guess. Right, Janice. They would have to know ahead of time. See, Rusty, that's all new info to me. Why don't they tell us that if that's the case? You know what I mean? Prepare people, allow them to be prepared. Some may get hysterical over it, but it won't be mass panic, especially if it hasn't happened yet. Especially if they're just suggesting that it's a possibility. It's kind of like when people know there's a hurricane coming. Look how many people still refuse to leave. Well, I'll ride it out. That's not always the smartest thing to do, but people were given choices in the uh, known factor of what's coming, such as a hurricane. Now, there might be a possible fault line problem and it causes a tsunami. Uh, Seems like they would prepare the public for that. Yeah, Katie, and correct me if I'm wrong, because everybody, it's a different part of the country, and I get wrapped up in the stuff that happens here. So you hear stories, especially when it's a big story like the water supply. Was it Flint? Am I right on that? Back when Obama was in office, has any of that been corrected at all after all these years? See, Katie, that's the problem. They don't talk about the things that people really need to know about, especially if it's an accountability issue. And I believe that to be the issue or the case in most issues is accountability. Who is going to get the blame? So if they've never fixed the water problem, with all this infrastructure bill that they're so proud of that they passed, but yet I've heard nobody has actually seen any of this money yet. So they supposedly passed that bill to where it's gonna fix a lot of the infrastructure of our country, but yet I've not heard of them fixing anything. And I could be wrong, but I just haven't heard of anything. So they say it has, but you doubt it. That's the problem. Our there's a lot of us that doubt a lot of things, and it's their fault. It's their fault we doubt it because they're untrustworthy. They get caught with their hand in the cookie jar way too many times that it's just going to be, you just can't trust them. You've got an Epstein Island in Michigan, North Fox Island, under the guise of charity. Michigan has lots of interesting history. Yeah, I bet. I bet. Yeah, Katie, the cancer thing, I believe I do remember where that was a problem back then. The children were getting sick, and I remember one of the husband, where his wife got cancer, brain cancer, or something like that. And wasn't there a movie made about that? Aaron, somebody. I'm sorry, I don't remember her whole name. She was just a regular, everyday person. Wood. That is fascinating. Water lines made of wood. I'm gonna look that up. I'd like to see what that looks like. Don't they worry about a mold problem with wood? Seems like you'd have a mold problem with that. That in itself causes enough issues by itself. Yeah, Rusty, Michigan roads. I've driven up around Detroit. I've been up around 8 Mile and stuff, and yeah, the roads, the holes in the highway swallow a car. What we got here, TJ? There's news about scientists discovering 40 mysterious craters in Lake Michigan. There are some news about the earthquakes, magnitude 2.9, and some rare tsunami like waves also. So, has that affected anybody that lives in those areas? I mean, it's like I can understand if you feel like a little shake, but nothing really falls over or causes a crack in the wall, uh, something like that. Because we've actually had felt earthquake tremors here in Ohio before, but it was never major. I think the first one I ever felt, I was 15 years old, I remember, but it wasn't such a magnitude that it caused anything. Yeah, Katie, that's where we have to talk about it. They're not going to talk about it, so we talk about it. Um, if you could, if possible, if you would email me a little bit of information that you have on that, and I will, if it'll help at all. I don't know how much influence it'll help, but I'll do my best. I can make some videos on that and get some information out there because that's my whole goal is to inform people. Sometimes I'll throw in my personal opinion in there, but my my actual goal is to inform people of stuff that they may not realize that's happening or going on, and then they watch one of my videos, and then it makes them curious enough to look into it. And, I mean, some things I don't get 100% right, but I'm so little off the mark that it's not really detrimental to the core of the story that I'm trying to get the information out there on. Oh, okay, Rusty. That is fascinating. Wooden water pipes. I bet you guys probably have that in some of your local museums up there. Any of the old pipes that they would have been replaced for whatever reason, and then they could put those in museums to show the history of that area. 'Cause I love museums. I do. I like human history. But these are good things to know. And then they're, like I said, it may not be nothing nefarious why they're wanting to set these semi trailers there. Uh, but it sounds to me like if that's the case, then it's for a honest reason, to prepare for some kind of tsunami or earthquake event. I think they would just warn people. Children of the Snow. Ah, something else I don't know about. Yeah, that is a trip. Well, I would hope that with all this infrastructure money that they've got allocated to help, supposedly for these urban cities, uh, stuff just like this, the water supply issue in Michigan. And, I'm all for uh, the money that they're wanting to spend overseas, bringing that stuff back home and making our cities better, safer, even just cosmetic wise. You know, same thing here in Springfield. We have areas that are just run down because there's not a lot of money there. At one time there were beautiful homes. You know, things evolve and rotate. It's like what used to be a very expensive part of town becomes a poor part of town, and then eventually that'll probably rotate back the other way again, but it just goes in cycles. But right now we have huge homes from the turn of the century that if we just had money instead of all these jobs going through these temp services here to employ these Haitians, there's a lot of U.S. citizens here that, although not willing to work for the wages that they're paying these Haitians, but that's part of the problem. Is they've brought in their own little sweatshop worker type people that U.S. citizens, for whatever reason, maybe we think we're better than that or whatever, but we also know what's required to need a certain amount of income to make a decent living. And I don't mean get rich, I just mean a decent living. To maybe purchase one of these older homes that are distressed and, you know, throw $50,000 in it, on top of what you purchased it for, whatever price that may be, and turn it into just the unique quality home with character. Uh, I like old homes. I like real estate, uh, and there's so many ways to modernize an old home now that, to me, and the only reason that they don't get purchased by people who can afford to fix them up is because of the neighbors that live in, that you'd have to deal with, who basically ain't loving life, don't give a shit whether you live or die, and would rob you in a heartbeat. It's just a shame that our local police department can't help make these neighborhoods safer for people who want to go in there and purchase these homes and make them better. But and I don't know that you have that same problem in Michigan. I'm sure. I think it's the same all over. Yeah, Katie, apartment buildings should be built by real estate investors, not by the government. Infrastructure money is supposed to go towards improving the lives of the population, not building an apartment so a certain number of people can have a place to live when real estate investors can do that. That should not be something that's required by the government to do. Yeah, Katie, that's it. They got it. It's modern day slavery. Is what it is. That sucks, Rusty. But she keeps getting voted back in. Or is this her first? Or is still her first term, or is it her second term? I think I could be wrong, but it seems like she's been there a little while now. She's back crazy, in my opinion. But that's my opinion. So we'll uh, we'll continue on with this subject about FEMA and everybody's opinion on what they're doing or theory. Hopefully, it sounds bad, but if they are setting up there to help with an actual natural disaster, a possibility of a natural disaster, that sounds horrible to say that's the best case scenario. I mean, this is where we're at. This is the point that we're at. This is crazy. Yeah, that's how it usually works, Rusty. As far as like controlling the police department and stuff like that, they do hire like-minded people. They always make a big deal, like with Trump and his cabinet appointees, which I think he's crushing it. By the way, I don't know if you guys been paying attention to that, but he is getting prepared, basically to go to battle for uh, us. He's putting his team in place. They're still going to try to keep him from taking office. This I do not uh, think that's. I wholeheartedly believe that that is going to happen, and it may be not a major deal, but they are going to try something. They're already talking about doing their version of January 6th. Uh, I literally heard that on the news today. They call it a soft J6 event. I don't know what the hell that means, a soft J6 event. And then they're talking about, and I don't know where or what it would have anything to do with this, but like, because Kamala has to um, do the deal in Congress on January 6th to uh, do the electoral count and have all the electors up there. I think I said that right. To do uh, for or against Trump taking office. And I seen today where they are talking about asking Joe to step down so she can become president for the next couple months, and that would keep her from having somebody in that position because she'd no longer be vice president, and something about delaying the January 6th uh, election uh, thing there. Yeah, the secret Senate vote. Uh, that's who's going to be uh, the majority House leader, right? I think everybody's wanting is Rick Scott is the best case scenario out of the three that are supposedly being put up in place. They're going to pick one of the three. Yeah, TJ, and that's the thing. They have a way of monitoring these kind of things anymore to give some kind of warning about a possibility of an earthquake, and if it's in the water, it's going to cause a tsunami. A 20-foot wave is a that can go pretty far inland and cause a serious amount of damage and loss of life if people aren't warned in time. See, there in 54, you got 10-foot tsunami killed 7. You think if they thought this was going to happen that they would warn people so that the loss of life could be minimal to none. Yeah, Rusty, I agree that they'll be just let in and there'll be no repercussions from it. Yeah, on the majority Senate leader, like I said, I think Rick Scott. I think everybody that's who they are wanting to, but it's a secret vote, so it's kind of like don't this stuff seem familiar, guys? Don't this feel like 2017 to where the never Trumpers, the establishment, are trying their best on both sides of the aisle to keep him out of power, to keep from interrupting their money flow, because that's what it's all about. We all know this. It's about the money. But on a good note, you know, he's I wrote down all the, and some of these may even be more to this now from when I made this list earlier tonight. You got his chief of staff, Susie Wiles, which was his campaign manager, I do believe. Yeah, I mean, Katie, we're probably not all going to agree 100% on every pick, but if they are, that's why I was getting ready to say earlier. They talk about Trump wanting to put people who are loyal to him in place Well, isn't that what every president does? They act like it's a sin that he wants to put people who are loyal to him and his agenda in position to follow through with his agenda. That's the whole idea of putting people in place that you want. How they make it a bad thing is beyond me. I tell you, we live in a screwed up time. It really is. It's the thing they try to make a big deal about. That you're like, oh, I can't believe he's doing it. Come on, they do it. You know, Rusty, conspiracy theory on that, my friend. I think that was done for a reason, and so did President Trump. That's why these people not only not only need to lose their jobs, they need to be thrown in prison. I believe, and I believe in my soul, deep in my soul, that crimes have been committed. You know, and it just takes it takes the will to do something about it. And hopefully, President Trump won't take his foot off the gas. And the mainstream news can holler all you know going after his political opponents and blah blah blah. You know what? They broke the law. They broke the law. We spent almost 8 years of being called all kinds of names. I mean, the stuff that man has endured to try to get in there and get his. And people are saying, well, he's doing it because he's got this huge ego and he wants to be liked, and he wants to go down in history as being one of the best presidents ever. So what? That's what we all want. Uh, if feeding his ego means that he's helping all of us, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's just crazy to think that there's a problem with that. Yeah, yeah, he's meeting Biden today. Yeah, it's Rusty. I tell you, you're kind of like me. You kind of see the worst in all this, if I'm not mistaken. Am I right? Like I said, I hope for the best, but I prepare for the worst. So I see the worst in these people. I see obstacles everywhere I look anymore. I just see obstacles. But let me get back to the people that he's throwing in place at this point. So, of course, and this one kind of threw me for a loop. The Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem. I mean, that one caught me off guard. I didn't. I'm sure she can probably do the job with no problem, but I didn't know she had that kind of. Because it seemed like on most of these, he's putting people in place that has a background or some kind of good knowledge on what they're going to be in charge of. But anyways, I'll keep going. That one caught me off guard. Then you have the National Security Advisor, Mike Waltz. Now, I didn't know much about him except for what other people in interviews today have said about him, and that he's worked with President Trump uh, over this last year and a half, I guess. And, President Trump's got to know him quite well. So I have to go with his judgment on that one. You have the Department of Defense, uh, Pete Hegseth. Uh, now I like Pete. Uh, I watch him a lot because he does the Fox and Friends on the weekends. I think he's a true patriot. I believe he has puts his heart and soul 150% into trying to make U.S. military and veterans' lives better. So he don't just talk the talk; he walks the walk. So I think that's a good call on President Trump. Yeah, Katie, that is a risk. Uh, Taking people out of seats. Um, you have to hope that they have a game plan, because if I'm not mistaken, doesn't the governor put somebody in those places? And these governors, I believe, are all Republican, if I'm not mistaken. So they're going to put a Republican. Hopefully, they put a Republican in there that is capable of winning the next election to keep them there. See, I'm a little different than you on that, Rusty. I feel like you say the whole MAGA agenda. I feel like I am MAGA. I'm one of those ones that the agenda is there for people like me, you. You know, you can say I drank the Kool Aid on that one. Uh, I've been a MAGA supporter. It's to me, it's the common man's wing of the Republican Party. It's not a stuffy suit, uh, you know, establishment type deal. It's like me. I'm just an old mechanic. And I've always been a Republican, even though Republicans are been known for the rich. But I've said before, I never got a job from a poor person. My jobs have always been from people who had money and want to make more money. So that's their motivation, and that's what's kept me employed over all these decades. So, I have to go with that one. Elon has a lot of ideas, and the thing is you've seen many scenarios, especially if you like watch any like sci-fi or science type movies, to where somebody develops something and they develop it for the good of humanity, and somebody in government always finds a way to screw it up and make it have some kind of nefarious intent, whether it be destruction of some kind, or in this case, control of some kind. Well, no, Rusty. I mean, honestly, you can't trust every, yeah, and none of it you can trust 100%. Uh, you should always have caution. But for me, I'm willing to accept so far what he's doing and the people he's picking for his cabinet, because I like 95% of the people on here, and it's not I dislike the others. It's just that I'm like you on certain policies that I've known that they've had in the past. I don't quite agree with, but maybe with Trump's influence, uh, you know, it could be more towards his agenda than their own. We'll see. But like I said, Pete Hegseth from Fox News, I like him a lot. Then you got the Department of Government Efficiency, Mr. Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. I kind of like this. I'm kind of glad it didn't just one person, because, and I tell you why, because people always have a fear of somebody that's looking at money and trying to, in this case, trying to make the government more efficient. But they also may see something that might further their agenda. Saying that, when you have two people and they come from different backgrounds, and they're both well off. So it's not like they need the money for sure. And I don't think their motivation is trying to pad their own pockets. I do not believe that whatsoever. But it's you kind of keep them honest. You know what I mean? They kind of like can debate with each other if this is really necessary. Because one may agree that something in the government is still needed to be, funded. The other one may disagree, and then it takes that person's ability to communicate with the other one to, here's why I think it should stay or not stay, and do their best to try to change the other person's mind, or the other person could change their own mind just by debating with the other person about what it is. I think that's a great thing. Yeah, Katie, I'm not quite sure what he's doing with Tulsi yet. Um, I don't know. You know what I mean? So I know she's in the, even though she's military, she was in the medical field. I think her and RFK could probably do something together that might improve lives. Yeah, Rusty, I hear you. um, Let me go on down my list here. So, Director of CIA, John Ratcliffe. I'm glad this is a good pick because he's the one that uh, called BS on a lot of the information that they tried to uh, say Trump was a part of the Russia thing. So I think he definitely is loyal to President Trump, and not because he's like in the cult or whatever they want to call it. It's the fact that he spotted injustice and lies and brought it out into the light for everybody to know about. So that to me tells me he has a huge amount of integrity, and so he would be good in the CIA. Because let's be honest, if you're in charge of the CIA and you don't want the president to know something, he's not going to know it. So it takes somebody that you have to seriously trust that the CIA is doing the right thing for the American people. Hopefully. Yeah, Katie, that's what I'm saying. I'm hoping that her and RFK, kind of like how Elon Musk and Vivek is doing something together. I think RFK and Tulsi would do good together doing something. Yeah, Christy Nome. See that, like I said, that one threw me off guard. I don't know about that one. I mean, she's always been out publicly in support of President Trump because I've seen some interviews with her over the last few years about that. So then we have like the ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee. I mean, couldn't ask for a nicer guy. He's one of the nicest people that's been in government. I wish that he would call upon to do something. Trey Gowdy. Something about Trey Gowdy. And I know he got out of politics because he said it was a nasty, dirty. Uh, he couldn't get nothing done there because of all the politicking. So he got out of it. But I kind of wish that uh, President Trump could find someplace important for him, especially with all the uh, investigations that is going to be going on. Maybe make him some kind of a special prosecutor or something like that. And hopefully, if he was to do that, Trey Gowdy would accept. I think he would accept, but he would do it reluctantly, which is the best type of people you want in government, who will do the job but are reluctant to do it. Then you have the Secretary of State, which we were talking about earlier, Marco Rubio. He's kind of like a pro Ukraine type individual, which there's nothing wrong with being pro Ukraine. There is something wrong with dumping money, wasted money into that whole situation. But, you know, uh, Trump's getting more done in his first week as president elect than Biden's administration has done in the last 4 years. So, everybody's willing to come to the table, whether it be Ukraine or Russia or Israel and Hamas, even Iran, and even China has reached out. I mean, this means something. It has to mean something. These people know that there's a new sheriff in town, or actually, the old sheriff's back. Rusty, that would probably be a really good job for her. I don't know if she'd be willing to take it though, because yeah, she's got her own little news outlet going, and she does what she wants to do. She's her own boss now, and she's making killer money doing it. Yeah, Katie, I agree. So Marco Rubio, I like him personally, but we'll see how this worked out. Honestly, I don't think it, in my opinion, it matters what he personally wants to do as far as helping Ukraine. It's as long as he's doing what the president asks him to do. That's what counts. Not what his personal opinion is, but what the president's agenda is. And then the director of the EPA, uh, Mike or Lee Zeldin, which I'm sure he'll do a good job. I know he's an extremely nice gentleman. I believe he's honest. Um, I've seen him many times over the last few years, and he defends uh, Trump's agenda a lot. So I think that's probably a good pick. And then his senior advisor now, Stephen Miller, is kind of a controversial person. I don't know if you guys agree with me or not. Uh, he comes off sounding kind of nasty and mean sometimes, but I know he probably will get the job done. So he President Trump must trust him because he's made him his senior advisor. So, hey, Triple J. Yeah, we're just going over. You missed the topic on the FEMA semi trailers being stationed in Michigan. But right now, I'm going over the cabinet picks that President Trump has picked so far that I know of. There may be some more. I just don't know them yet. Let's see here. Then we have one of my favorites, and I don't know if you guys ever seen Tom Homan, but when he's been in front of Congress and all these situation with the border issue and all that, he shreds them Congress people to death. I mean, they literally try to argue his point of view, and he just comes back at them with such hard facts that he almost makes them, you know, curl up in a corner and cry. Uh, I think he is a perfect pick to be the border czar. I think that with the way he wants to do things in Trump's style, they kind of mesh. So I think that it's going to be unpleasant for a few people, but I think it's necessary to have happen. So, you know, that's my personal opinion. Then you have the UN ambassador, Elise Stefanik. Uh, I like her. She's a she's a tough cookie. You wouldn't think by looking at her, and she gets up there and does them press conferences all the time with them. But when you watch her in these congressional hearings that they do, all their little committee things, she's tough. I don't think that the people in the UN, I think she's going to do what the President Trump wants, which is make them pay up. You know, and it's they all people always talk about, wow, he wants to get out of the UN and he wants to do this. What he's saying is if we're paying most of the bill, what's in it for us? We have a military. That military is to help all the rest of them, not to help us. So if they're not paying their fair share, he used that as a threatening tactic, in my opinion, just to get them to start paying the money up. And as far as I know, they stopped paying again once he got out of office. Something's got to be done about that that will go beyond his presidency to keep them paying their fair share. So I get it, you know, warning or threatening to get out of it to make sure that they pay the amount that they're supposed to be paying. Yeah, Triple J, they do need to be tough, and I think they will be tough. To be honest with you, I think a lot of these people that he's picking, of course, the Attorney General Mike Lee. Yeah, he's a smart cookie, and I don't know. I mean, these are all the major players right now, and like I said, I'm pretty sure without knowing for sure, but it seems to me like he's going to put RFK and Tulsi Gabbard together to do something with the health, you know, the this national health crisis that we have going on right now. I don't know if he'll make a specific title for them, kind of like what he did for Elon and Vivek. But Vivek may not be in this for very much longer because I am rooting for him to want to run for governor of Ohio. But that don't mean he still can't be a part of that government efficiency deal. But I'd like to see him be our governor. Yeah, Katie, you know, Trump took us out of that Paris Accord once, and then Biden threw us right back in there. Well, you know, on all these things, NATO, UN, the WHO, if we are coming from a point of strength, we pretty much can squash part of that stuff and control the rest of it. So that is one of those things where it's kind of like kind of got to wait and see. A lot of that stuff you're not going to know it's happening until after it's happened. I heard that same thing, Triple J. Yeah, Fauci. Not only has Fauci got to worry about getting lawsuits, Fauci's got to worry about staying out of prison because you take where Steve Bannon and the Navarro gentleman all did time in prison for uh, contempt of Congress, uh, not turning over information uh, that Congress asked them to do, and they refused. So they each got 4 months in prison. Well, Merrick Garland's already been found in contempt. I think Merrick Garland ought to do that 4 months right away. And Fauci's been proven to lie to Congress, which they're under oath when they do that. So I think Fauci ought to get some kind of prison time. And I ain't saying throwing him in jail for years like they're trying to do everybody on our side. Uh, but there's got to be some kind of accountability. Everybody has to have some kind of accountability, from the government policies through FEMA, how they handle natural disasters, depending on what your political affiliation is, to the Department of Justice, Merrick Garland, even our Department of Education, allowing all this wokeness to corrupt the system. The whole Department of Education needs to be abolished or restructured in another way to make it a national policy, or whatever you want to call it, to keep the people from being fired. Is they teach reading and writing and arithmetic and history and nothing else. No personal agenda, you know, none of that stuff. And I'm sure you guys have seen all these lefty meltdowns since the election. You think I'm telling you, it feels like 2016, 2017 all over again, uh, minus the massive rioting. But I have a feeling the closer we get to J6, the more likely that's going to happen anyway. But we'll see. But all these people claiming it's the end of the world, all their friends are going to be hunted down and killed, or they're going to wake up and be enslaved tomorrow when they wake up, or all kinds of this off the wall stuff. It's like there is a mental, uh, we have a mental crisis in this country. There literally is some mentally, I don't want to call them deranged, but they act deranged. But they really is. There's something wrong with them. It needs to be studied. What is so many people with? I mean, some of the stuff that they claim that's going to happen to them now. I've never heard of these things until they got on TikTok and YouTube and started whining and crying. And these people, I mean, they take the time to set up their camera, and then I mean, some of it is very good performative art. Let's be honest, but some of it's not. Some of it is truly real. But what is it they think they're accomplishing by putting such deranged, idiotic behavior uh, out there for the world to see? I mean, are they expecting some kind of pity, or maybe would change our minds or something? But a lot of the stuff they're upset about, there's nothing to be upset about. I mean, some of the stuff that they are claiming that's going to happen to them is beyond the pale of common sense. I don't know. I just want to get through this till January, and I hope, I hate to say this, but the assassination attempts, I hope that doesn't get worse or more of them in play that we don't know about. But because they're gonna. It ain't over. I mean, their little brains are churning away, trying to figure out a way to keep him from taking office. And it always goes back to what are they afraid of? The only thing that you can see that they're afraid of is they can't control him. They literally can't control him, and that scares the shit out of them. Yeah, Soros should be considered an enemy of the state. He should not be allowed back in the country. He should be imprisoned for the shit that he's done. Yeah, Triple J. That's what I'm saying. They throw these little tantrums. I mean, it's one thing to sit there and whine and cry and whimper and talk about having to move. It's another thing when they scream into the camera or. And what gets me is you don't see individuals on the right doing this when we lose elections because we just lost the last one before this one. So uh, get up next morning, go to work, complain about it, but not whine and cry and throw tantrum fits and start doing name calling and unbelievable stuff. I mean, foul stuff. I mean, this one guy's talking about how you voted because you wanted to be able to afford groceries and to pay your rent. And he's talking about, well, you know what? You Trump supporting pieces of shit. It's because you're too stupid to get a real job. If you can't afford to pay for groceries, go get a better job if you're capable of even doing that. And all kinds. Just kept going on and on about that. I was like, gosh, are you kidding me? I haven't seen Trump's robo dogs, but I've seen the military's robo dogs. Yeah, Rusty, they are installed all over the country, but I think Trump's got, honestly, I think he has a plan for that. I think he does. I think he's got a plan to start taking them out one by one. And I know a lot of them are elected in there, but there's a way to get them impeached or removed or whatever you want to call it. Because you can find several cases of each one of them of derelict of duty, not doing what their job is, which is to uh, try and convict criminals and give them the punishment that they deserve, depending on the crime. Yeah, in all honesty, Triple J, social media is that's what they're claiming is how Donald Trump won this election is because of the use of social media. So, because in today's era, they talk about ground game. The Democrats are still going door to door, knocking on doors and collecting ballots. When the Trump team used alternative social media outlets to get their message out, to make people fill out those ballots and mail back in if they're not going to go to the actual polls and physically vote, which I did on vote day or election day. I went in and voted. But, anyways, so yeah, so they are. Yeah, Katie, Trump did get a lot of the UAW. You know why? Because union or not, if the jobs goes overseas, what good is a union if there's no job there to pay the union dues? So their interests align with each other. Trump wants to bring manufacturing back to America. Union workers want a job, want to keep their jobs, the ones that are still working. So they have, you know, in the past, Republicans and unions clash because Republicans believe that all states should be a right to work state, and it's fine. Unions have their places in the system, so there's plenty of types of jobs that have unions, and will probably stay that way. And there's nothing wrong with that. And Trump's not trying to get rid of a union. He just doesn't think a union is necessary with today's laws and rules, uh, the way that corporations have to govern their employees. Saying that, that's another topic all by itself. But you know, yeah, the Amish come out to vote Triple J, and that gentleman, I can't think of his name. He's got the real long hair. He actually went around to cities and he got in trouble for putting together volunteers. Like when I think when he was in Boston, he went there to clean up this one whole area. So he put together volunteers and raised money to have dumpsters brought in and cleaned up this whole part of town. And they tried to arrest him over it, which was the dumbest shit I ever saw in my life. I can't think of his name though. Yeah, Rusty. I actually worked. I used to work for uh, local 402 UAW because I did a small portion of my life building semis. I've always, either worked on them or build them. It's one or the other in my life. And the unions, that union, uh, pretty much just gave you an excuse to be lazy. To be honest with you, um, I mean, the theory is good, but they kind of like go overboard with their the way they uh, actually institute the system. It's really hard to get fired from a union job. Uh, so it's basically because you could come in drunk on your ass and get sent home, and 3 days later you come back and everything's good because you filed a grievance through the union that you all you got to do is admit you had a drinking problem and you could go right back to work with no problem. I've seen a woman cuss out a supervisor. Supervisors are company employees, not union employees, and not one thing happened to her because the supervisor sent her home and she was right back to work 3 days later, and she got paid for the whole 3 days that she was off. Makes no sense. But saying that, I made good money working in the union. I mean, you say you made more without, but I don't know what that. I can tell you right now, when I no longer worked for them, they renegotiated the contract, and where I was making $22.90 an hour at the time back in the day, way back in the day, uh, they redid the contract, and he started out at 14 something an hour, and it maxed out at like 16.70 after 3 years or something. And then, of course, you only got raises when the next contract come around. So they all had to take a big, huge drop in pay to keep the plant. The plant was threatening to close down and move out of Springfield. So they pretty much did a scare tactic on them to get all the wages down. And I get it too. If the truck industry is not selling trucks, what do? You're trying to keep people working. Yeah, Rusty, they have a lot of stuff that they offer as far as rehab and, mental. Uh, I don't know exactly what you call it. Like if you claiming you're having a mental breakdown or whatever, they send you to a specialist and you get to go to therapy. And that lasts almost indefinitely as long as they think you need it to keep your head right. I guess they do that because they didn't want you to come in and go postal on everybody. Yeah, unions are different. Katie, I agree. But like I said, it's managed correctly. They have their place. Like I said, they voted for Trump because their agendas are the same. Trump wants manufacturing back in America. Unions want their workers working in America, doing their jobs are supposed to be. They want to build things. Most unions, if it's not in the trucking industry itself, it's building things. You have your service industry unions, but they're not near as strong. And I think the strongest union in the country right now is the teachers union. And to me, they are nothing but detrimental uh, to the well-being of children. To be honest with you, these these teacher unions could care less about how the children are affected by what they do. So I think that needs to be looked at. Something needs to be done there. I ain't saying get rid of the union, but they literally need to change their rules of engagement. Well, guys, we're going on 2 hours. This has been fun. I was hoping tonight. Tell me in chat real quick. For those that's been here, I tried to bring a lot more information to this instead of just hanging out and just asking you guys questions. I tried to bring some stuff. I tried to do more research and uh, try to give you guys something to listen to and maybe something you didn't know. So, did it work? Uh, there you go, Rusty. Right on, brother. So, if you like the way I did it tonight, just holler and let me know real quick before we get out of here because I'm trying to do better. I want to continue doing this stuff. I enjoy this. Believe it or not, this night out, even though it's a lot smaller group, it's like my favorite one because it is a smaller group. Obviously, I'm not trying to do this to get clicks or views or whatever, but I want to talk to people who are interested in having a conversation about things that I'm concerned with, and hopefully you guys are too. Rusty, I seen where you sent me something, not on Facebook. You sent me something in comments on one of my videos about the message on Facebook. Sir, I didn't see it, so I didn't know what you was talking about. I will see if I can't find it. Which page did you put it on? Is it my Empty Pockets Garage page, or is it my regular one? Thanks, TJ. So I will try to find it. Tell me which Facebook page you put it on, and then I'll try to find it, and then we'll talk about it next time we go live here. Uh, you know, you know me. I ain't scared. I ain't afraid to read the message. As long as it's coming from the right, honest place. Okay, so it's on Empty Pockets Garage. I am trying to do better to monitor that one because I have other, which is my personal Facebook page, which I didn't think it was on that, to be honest with you, because that's got my information that could get me doxxed and stuff. So, but the Empty Pockets, I will go on that and I will try to find that. I'm sure it shouldn't be hard to find because I've been trying to get on there and post my car videos more often, and I'm trying to do this. This era of social media is new to me. Even though I've had this YouTube channel for 4 years, I'm slow to learn about making improvements, and having better interactions with people who uh, come and view the stuff that I do. So I will go on there and look for that. And you want? Are you gonna be on the Friday live stream at 6:30 on my other channel, Jimmy Pockets? Or if you're gonna be back here, I'll find it and I'll read it back on this one, or I can read it Friday, and we'll have a conversation about it. Oh, okay. I'll find that. I'll find it. Now that what you're saying makes more sense to me, what you were saying before, I didn't quite get, because, like I said, I didn't see it. So I was wondering what message you were talking about. Honestly, I thought you were talking about like one of the messages in chat, and I missed it. Uh, so I'll do better at that. I'll look that up, and we'll have that conversation. You just tell me if what's a good day for you, Friday or next Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. Yeah, and another, and I thought my daughter would be on tonight, but I haven't heard from her. She's not been feeling well, so she'll probably be on with me Friday at 6:30 on Timmy Pockets channel. Okay, Rusty. Well, I'll look it up and I'll read it next Tuesday night, and then we can talk about it. Whatever it may be, I'll look at it. And like I said, I don't care what, if it's subject that you want to talk about, I'd be more than happy to read it. We can talk about it and have the group get involved. So, saying that, appreciate you guys coming in. I enjoy it as always. Um, I'm trying to get my subscriptions up on my other channel, Jimmy Pockets. I don't know if any of you guys may or may not be subscribed to that channel, but I do a live stream 6:30 on Fridays Eastern, 6:30 Eastern. And obviously here you'll find my videos. I kind of do a mix of car content and political or current event stuff on this channel, but I do all political and current events only on the Jimmy Pockets channel. So, saying that, guys, till we meet again, this is James, aka Jimmy Pockets. I'm going to say good night to everybody.